My name is Mike, I play WoW, and today we're making a bar cart, or a coffee cart depending on your sensibilities and which of the two thumbnails and titles I A/B tested you got fed on your algorithm. My number one pastime in this game is making custom furniture, and I really wanted a bar cart for the private room in my tavern, so today I'm going to teach you how to make not one, but two fairly simple carts. You can incorporate elements from each one into the other if you so choose, or into your own designs, and if you use anything from this video in your build, I'd love to hear about it. If you like the video, like housing, just like WoW, whatever the case, please consider liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment. You can write whatever you want down there. You can write papaya for all I care. It all helps the channel. Okay, enough plugging. Let's go over the grocery list real quick. For the first bar cart we're going to build, the smaller one, you're going to need 2 sturdy wooden trellises, 2 sunrise canyon paintings, and 4 elegant round end tables. You're also going to need 4 dies of some sort for the trellises and paintings, whatever color you want it to be, and at least 4 obsidian black dies for the wheels. You can optionally pick whatever you want to put on top of the cart. I do a lot of coffee and tea stuff for this one, but anything will do. And the nice thing about this cart is that it's very easy and very affordable, both from a budget perspective and from a gold perspective. Everything can be bought in the Alliance neighborhood. That's technically not untrue of the other cart, with one major exception, but it's a nice simple option to start. If you want something a little larger and more complex, like the second cart, you're going to need 3 weather-treated wooden tables, 5 small Orgrimmar platforms, or whatever style of platform you want, 1 sunrise canyon painting, 4 gnomish sprocket tables, or something else that you can use as wheels, and 3 stormwind weapon racks. Additionally, you'll want dies that probably match whatever platform you intend to use for the walls of the cart, as well as for the shelf that the painting is going to turn into. This one doesn't have pieces that are all from a neighborhood. The wheels are from Mechagon Rep, but are easily replaced with the round tables from the first cart or something. The only piece I think is really clutch here is the Stormwind weapon rack, and it's really easy to get, so I believe in you. Once all your ingredients are assembled, let's get cooking. Like all my projects, the first thing we're going to do is start grabbing random objects to block how big we want this item to be. I talk about it in my stove video, linked on screen now if you're interested, but a big part of custom furniture builds for me is blocking. I like to know exactly where I'm going to want something at its approximate size and shape before I really dive into building, mostly to avoid having to move dozens of pieces one by one if I need to move it later. Luckily, this is going to be a temporary problem. Isn't that right, Ian?
Right now, you pretty much have to deconstruct and reconstruct the thing to do that. Well, we want to make it so that you can just click and drag, mass select the multiple pieces, and move them over.
Thanks, Ian. Anyways, even once we can bulk move objects, I will still be blocking things just so you can get a visual sense of how much space something is going to take up. Once we block out the rough height of our larger bar cart and the rough size and shape of our coffee cart, we move on to actually starting. And let's start with the smaller cart here. First, grab one of your sturdy wooden trellises, size it down to 30% or whatever size you want, and use the snap to grid option to line it up. You don't actually have to do this, but I like snapping the first one just to make other things easy to line up in the future. Once your trellis is placed, grab your first sunrise canyon painting. Flip it so the wood side is facing up, scale it to around 60%, and then align it with the trellis to create the top of your table. Pull it up, touch up your alignment, scale it up a little bit more because you realize 62% is actually the right size, and then pull out your second trellis. Scale that trellis down to 30%, use grid snap to get it squared up with the first one, and then drag it into place to create the other side of your bar cart. Take out your second sunrise canyon painting, scale it down, and then line it up with the bottom of your 2 trellises, pulling it up to create your bottom shelf. You'll find with this one you actually want it a little smaller than your top shelf just because of how the trellises are shaped. If you don't care about your cart having wheels, you can stop, but if you want wheels, it's time to add them. Pull out your 4 small elegant tables, scale them down to your wheel size. I start with 40% here, but actually end up at 30% by the end, and then rotate them all so they're sideways. Once that's done, move one of them into position to be a wheel. Tweak it in advanced mode to get the alignment how you like it, particularly how close to the ground it is and how close to the cart leg it is. Now grab your second wheel and drag it over to the wheel you just placed. What you're now going to do is get these to clip into each other as perfectly as possible. Ideally, you want them to look like one table. Once they do, grab it on the left-right axis relative to the front of your cart and just drag it over to the other side. With 2 wheels placed, we're now going to lift the cart. Start with the trellises and raise them up so the metal feet are right behind the wheels, slightly off the ground, and then raise the paintings to match. This is also where you can play with the height of the second shelf if you want. You could even add a third if you're feeling bold, because this is the height your stuff is going to stay at. With the trellis raised, we just need to add our 2 remaining wheels. Rotate them around so the tops of the tables are facing the back of your cart, and then move them into position in front of your already placed wheels. Make the tabletops kiss, and when you're satisfied with the alignment, pull the wheels through the cart to line them up with the other side. And just like that, all you have to do now is decorate your cart. Put whatever you want on this bad boy. If you know a neighborhood with the Grumbles Endeavor active, they have a particularly great selection of coffee stuff. Probably should have bought more of it for this video, but that's okay. That's one cart down. A nice, small, easy cart for all sorts of things. But what if we want a bigger cart? A more rustic cart? Is that the right use of the word rustic? Maybe. Let's move on to the second cart. Grab your first weather-treated table, scale it down to 40%, flip it upside down, and then snap to grid place where you want the cart to be on the floor. You're also going to use a second table here, scaled to 40% for the top of the table. Snapping to grid allows you to line up the top and the bottom easily. Grab your third table, scale it to 40%, rotate it 90 degrees so the legs are facing what will be the open side of the cart, and then maneuver it into place to create the back with advanced placement. Close any gaps you have, and bam, you've created the basis of this cart. We're actually going to do the wheels next in this one, since this one is a little more important to get the right height from the jump. Grab your 4 gnomish sprocket tables, scale them all the way down to 20%, rotate them 90 degrees, and then line them up with the front of your cart. We're going to use the same technique we did for the smaller cart here. Clip one fully into the first one that you placed, drag it sideways to create your second wheel, and then make your remaining 2 wheels kiss the first ones before you drag them through the entirety of the cart to make the wheels on the other side. With that done, let's get the rest of this cart framed up. Grab 4 of your 5 small platforms, shrink them all the way down to 20%, and then rotate them so they're standing up and down like walls. You're going to place these in front of your wheels, roughly lined up with the legs of the tables themselves, and then use advanced placement to drag them in. This is going to require a little tweaking to get right. You basically want the combination of these 2 platforms on each side to fully hide the legs of the tables. Do the same thing to the other side, and wowie zowie, we've got an open crate, kind of. Grab your final small platform, shrink it down to 20%, rotate it to be a wall, and then place it as your dividing wall in the cart. I'm a sucker for an off-center one, so you'll notice mine isn't perfectly center, which is actually going to work to our advantage in a second. Next, get your trusty Sunrise Canyon painting out, one of the most versatile tools in housing. Flip it so its back is facing up, scale it to around 50%, and insert it on the left side as your shelf. Play around with the height placement and how far it's sunk in to hide it. You may even want to rotate it slightly to get a better clipping result. And then admire your handiwork before we pull out the workhorse of this build, the Stormwind Weapon Rack. I cannot say enough good things about the Stormwind Weapon Rack. This is an incredibly useful tool in my building experience. Scale the first weapon rack down to 50%, rotate it 75 degrees, and then move it to the end of your cart to become the pull handle for the cart. You can play with this how you like. I just like 2 pokey-outy bits, that's the technical name, sticking out from the cart, and your double platform wall on the sides should be thick enough to hide any clip through. Then, grab out your next Stormwind rack, rotate it so the pokey-outy bits are facing upwards, scale it to about 60%, and move it into the right compartment of your cart. Play with the clipping until it's how you like it. I like to have 2 pokey-outy bits mostly evenly centered, creating 3 spots in this quote-unquote wine rack. Rotate it a little so it appears more square, and then rinse and repeat with your third Stormwind rack for the bottom part. With that, the cart is done. Decorate it to your heart's content. Get some wine bottles in there, get some mugs in there, a keg, some cups, whatever passes for a wine bottle right now until we get the really nice ones from midnight, and take a step back to admire your handiwork. You built a bar cart or a coffee cart, whichever your heart desires. If you made it to the end of the video, thank you so much for watching. That's mondo good for the channel. Let me know if there's something you'd like to see me build from a custom furniture perspective. I've seen bowling alley get recommended. I've seen all sorts of stuff in the comments that I truly love, and I've got a nice list going. For now though, I'm gonna go play WoW instead of just talking about it. Until next time, okay.